Okay, welcome back. We ended just a couple of minutes early last time so that I could start this next section in verse 1 and not have to end it. He says, your hair is like a flock of goats that have descended from Mount Gilead. Now it's interesting, in the Hebrew, it's Strong's number 6777. It's literally your veil of hair. Your veil of hair. Now that's interesting. Why a veil of hair? Well, it says this in the previous clause, your eyes are dove's eyes behind your veil. So the gospel of peace and your spirit of peace is hiding behind a veil. Then it says, literally, your veil of hair is like a flock of goats. Instead of your hair, it's literally your veil of hair. Again, Strong's number 6777. So the veil that she's wearing, that her eyes of peace are behind, is her hair. Her hair is like a veil. Now, my mom and dad, back when I was a 60s kid, used to say that was a shaggy dog look. But this isn't. This is a type. So what does the hair show us? Let's turn to 1 Corinthians chapter 11. Turn with me there, please. I'm going to read for a while, and I want you to follow with me. And I'm going to teach you a few things. Chapter 11, starting at verse 3. Again, I'm reading from the NAS. Paul speaking, he says, but I want you to understand that Christ is the head of every man, and the man is the head of a woman, and God is the head of Christ. Every man who has something on his head while praying or prophesying disgraces his head. Oh. That's where I've seen brethren get these prayer shawls, Jewish prayer shawls, and they start praying with that on their head because they don't understand the verse. Verse 5. But every woman who has her head uncovered while praying or prophesying disgraces her head, for she is one and the same with her whose head is shaved. Again, the Jews, when the women pray, they put on a prayer shawl, and they pray under a prayer shawl. Now, Paul's speaking to the Christian church and saying, you're not supposed to have something on your head. But certain Christians think, oh no, I'm supposed to have a covering on my head. And there's great confusion here. And still other Christians are thinking, no covering at all. And still others are saying, I need a skull cap. Let's just see what these verses are saying. Verse 6. For if a woman does not cover her head, let her also have her hair cut off. But if it is disgraceful for a woman to have her hair cut off or her head shaved, let her cover her head. So it seems like Paul's teaching customs here. This seems like a custom. And he's saying it seems like it should be almost an instinctual thing. Verse 7, for a man ought not to have his head covered, since he is the image and glory of God, but the woman is the glory of man. For man does not originate from woman, but woman from man. For indeed, man was not created for the woman's sake, but the woman for man's sake. Therefore, the woman ought to have, in the NAS it says, a symbol of authority on her head because of the angels. Then it goes on, verse 11, however, in the Lord, neither is woman independent of man, nor is man independent of woman. For the woman originates from the man, so also the man has his birth through the woman. And all things originate from God. Judge for yourselves, is it proper for a woman to pray with her head, pray to God with her head uncovered? ? Verse 14, does not even nature itself teach you that if a man has long hair, it's a dishonor to him? But if a woman has long hair, it is a glory to her. For her hair is given to her as a covering. Now I understand what you're saying. Now I understand what you're saying. But if one is inclined to be contentious, we have no other practice, nor have the churches of God. So he's saying, listen, if somebody preaches or teaches that you need to have your head covered with a prayer shawl, Paul's saying, that's not right. That's not of God. Or if they're saying you need to shave your head in order to be holy, that's not of God. Here's the problem. The custom in the day was homosexuals let their nature be known by men wearing long hair, long effeminate hair, and one earring. The women would cut their hair off short, okay, really short. And that's how that was the unspoken way of them communicating with one another. And Paul's trying to say, look, if you want to be holy and righteous before the Lord, men, the nature of God within you and the instincts within a man is to have short hair. It's an instinct. And with women, to have long hair, that's an instinct also, because it's a type, it's a symbol. The short hair in man means I'm not yielding to flesh, I'm yielding to God. The man is supposed to be the head of his house. Women have long hair as a symbol of as submission to her flesh, which is her husband, her covering, which is a symbol of submission. Paul, of course, then goes in verse 12, verse 11 and 12, and reminds men, don't be lofty in your mind and lifted up and thinking that you're better than women. You're not. Remember, you got your birth through mom. So he's saying, look, God is all in all of us. But he does bring this out, that there is an authority. There is an authority that is to be watched over here. Let me show you. Back in verse 10, he says an interesting thing. Therefore, the woman ought to have a symbol of authority on her head because of the angels. The word angels is interesting. It's literally messengers. It can mean angels or demons. So here's what Paul is teaching us, and a very interesting thing. He's saying this. He's saying, look, follow the precepts and the instincts that God put within you. In doing it, you'll stay safe. And he brought in verse 10 to make it, to expand it. It's not just safe from misunderstandings among other people, but it is safe from demons and angels. Do you have to be safe from an angel? I don't mean safe from an angel. I mean safe from demon spirits. Or to be blessed by angels. Let's put it that way. So what's it saying? It's saying if a woman has long hair, it's a covering to her. The angels and demons see that outward look. If a man has long hair, they see that too. And what the demon spirits say is that man has a spirit of rebellion, or a heart of rebellion, sorry. And I, being a spirit of rebellion, now have rights to him. We've talked about this. It's the legal spiritual law book. There are rules and regulations in the spirit. How many of you have seen men with long hair seem to have a rebellious side? When I was a kid, I felt real rebellious. I almost naturally grew my hair long because I felt rebellious. We used to call it cool, but really it was just being rebellious. Girls, they want to feel rebellious, they cut their hair short and then usually paint it, in different colors. Here's the thing. The angelic and demonic realm looks at our outward appearance because it reveals what's going on within us, within our hearts, and that's the whole point of this. It reveals what's going on inside. If a woman has hair that is very short, she's showing what's going on inside. It's the same as a man who has grown his hair out. It is a spirit of rebellion. And the angels and demons see that. Now back to our context in Song of Songs, chapter 4, verse 1. Your veil of hair is like a flock of goats that have descended from Mount Gilead. Mount Gilead is the pasture lands. It was also noted for producing a balm for healing. So he's pointing out something here that is amazing. He says, your eyes are like doves, which is peace, behind your veil of hair, which is like a flock of goats full of unity, no gap between them, descending the mountains of healing. The mountain of healing, or balm. There's a beautiful old song Jamie Hansen sang, there's a balm in Gilead. And just to this day, that song every once in a while comes into my heart and I just start singing it. And it's a beautiful, beautiful song. Jamie does a fantastic job bringing it. There's a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul. The balm that the bride is going to have as she descends Mount Gilead is her long hair. What do I mean by that? Remember, these are typological and metaphorical pictures. What it's saying is this, it's saying her heart of submission to Christ has brought about her eyes of peace. And it will bring healing as she descends the mountain of pastures. It'll bring healing to who? Her. She's been healed. She's coming down to heal others. The bride is going to bring healing and balm to others. But it's because her eyes are being veiled by her submission. This is a radical concept. Oh, you can sit there and say, oh, no, we teach submission here, and we teach submission in our church, and we teach them. Really? So that means your church doesn't have the spirit of Laodicea. The spirit of Laodicea and Philadelphia are side by side in the last days. One is the bride saints, and one is the people who have their own rule. They rule themselves. Laodicea means the rule of the laity. They're not submitted. I've heard people say, I'm not submitting to anybody but God. So I've asked them, okay, so if the Spirit of the Lord told you to do this or that, what would you do? Well, I would check to see if that's what I want to do. What about God? Well, I'll submit to God. When? Well, at my time. In my way. At my convenience. That's the spirit of Laodicea. The spirit of Laodicea, you want to see if it's alive and well in you? How do you react when you get a ticket and you really were speeding? Do you feel angry and rebellious? It's an easy check. If the Spirit of God speaks to your heart, do you say, yeah, but? Well, if only? Well, maybe, Lord, let me check my calendar. That's the spirit of Laodicea. If the Spirit of God is knocking on your door and you go, no, 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 no. I'm not answering that because it's against my church traditions. That's the spirit of Laodicea. If the Lord knocks on your door and you feel it in your heart, and you say, no, 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 I'll lose my position. I'll lose my retirement in the church. That's the spirit of Laodicea. And you're in danger of being left behind. The spirit of the bride is this. She is fully submitted. And the messengers know it well. So they can find nothing in her. The angels and demons know it well. She is spiritually has her hair as a veil over her eyes of doves. She is fully submitted to her covering, which is Christ. Fully submitted. First thing they see, brethren, is your submission. The submission of the bride. And then they see the eyes of doves. Amen. Lord bless you till we come back together again in the Song of Songs. Chapter 4, and we'll get to verse 2 next. Lord bless.